Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night, whatever time of day you are watching the Victor Wrestling podcast. Boy, has it been a weekend for us, and it's going to continue to be a week throughout the day. I am the one and only, the storyteller, Alex Braddock, and joining me today is...
Your other host, never ready, Dylan Gilbert. And yeah, buddy, you're not kidding. We're post-show and post-hurricane. Weird week.
It's been a rough week, and I'm sure this week is going to continue to bring chaos for us. But we ain't talking about this upcoming week. We're talking about the week before this.
The week that was.
Before we start, to all the YouTube peoples, hit the like, subscribe buttons because we don't advertise things. I have to do this at the start of the episode, and I'm sorry for that. To all the Spotify people, hit the download button. We haven't quite figured out Spotify, but hey, if you didn't know, we're on Spotify now.
Subscribe, follow. I think it's all still similar.
Okay, cool.
We'll see.
Anyway, let's get on with the week. Dear Lord.
We're the worst podcasters ever.
We are the most mid podcasters in the world, and it's great. Brother, we're starting off with Monday Night Raw like we always do, and I think this episode is going to be kind of a discussion episode, as not as much of a recap. We, of course, will recap as we always do, but the first thing I want to start off with is we had that Fatal 4-Way that we talked about last week. It was Uso, Strowman, let me clarify, Jey Uso, Braun Strowman, Pete Dunne, and Ilya Dragunov, and we had Uso pick up the win. So I believe next week, I do not believe they're waiting until Bad Blood, we are getting Uso versus Braun Breaker for the IC title.
I don't know how much I like the idea of not putting your IC title on a pay-per-view, especially with this build that they've been giving Braun Breaker, unless Jay's going to take it. I don't know.
Yeah, because how many more weeks are we out to Bad Blood? We got 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
Yeah, two or three.
Okay. Yeah, I mean they could probably pull it and keep it going, but as we'll discuss later in the night, we already have 3 matches set up, I believe. At least 2, maybe 3 matches set up for Bad Blood.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I agree. Having the IC title, this if I can say once prestigious title. I mean, you had somebody hold it for 600 plus days, and then in David beats Goliath fashion, you have someone take it off of him at WrestleMania, and then it kind of dies again.
Right.
We see that a lot with the IC title. You have someone that holds it to the ultimate prestige and then gets dropped again. Then you have someone come back and bring it to the ultimate prestige again. And it's kind of crappy because both the 2 main titles don't ever really get that way. Sometimes it gets stale, the story that they're telling with the main titles, but it's never less prestigious than the other. But the other big thing that happened on Raw was Drew McIntyre comes out and starts cutting a promo on Wade Barrett. Please put it on the board by 2026.
We've already seen one commentator come back to in-ring competition this year. Let's make it a second.
Yeah, please just put it on the board. By 2026, Wade Barrett might be stepping back in a ring, and if it's with Drew McIntyre or against Drew McIntyre, boy, oh boy, are we going to have some fun.
Yeah, that would be one hell of a feud. 2 of the biggest haters in the company.
Absolutely. But you know how Drew is. He's got to run his mouth, and good old Adam Pearce comes out and says, look, you and Punk are going to get one more go, which honestly I thought we were done with this whole friendship bracelet feud, but apparently not.
We are not.
And the final blow-off match of this trilogy will be Punk versus Drew in a Hell in a Cell. Dylan, what you think, bud?
I think that's the way to pay this thing off, man. Like, they have continued to escalate in violence. If you want to finish this thing Hell in a Cell, short of going into a death match, Hell in a Cell is the highest you can escalate this thing. That's it. That needs to be your final. Whoever wins this thing, you've won the feud. Time to move on.
No, I agree. I think um, I was really wondering how we were going to have that be the previous match be the blow off, the strap match that they had, because
Right.
it wasn't as hot as I thought it would be. Even though the story building up to it was on fire, I think honestly having that four corner stipulation versus like if I can make the comparison tribalism, AEW's dog collar.
Right.
AEW's dog collar is literally just the two men are attached to each other so they can't run away. Versus having a four strap, like a bull strap match, whatever they call it, and having them touch the four corners in sequence. It just the gimmicks kind of it meh. So it makes sense that it was the middle match, but I definitely wouldn't have started the matches with a special guest referee situation.
I see. I don't mind the special guest referee situation for that one. I think just because you had a Seth Rollins that kind of hated both parties and had his, had his say with both parties, like it kind of made sense, especially for WrestleMania. You need to do something with Seth, and I don't think he was ready to wrestle, so it made sense. But yeah, I'm kind of with you. I don't think that's where I would have necessarily where it should start. But here we are.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, we did have 7 months of heat going into that special guest referee match, and then you had, I'm pretty sure, a month of heat going into the strap match, which was kind of eh. But going into this Hell in a Cell, I really hope that the next 2 weeks on Raw they are spilling blood on the mat to go into this Hell in a Cell match. Will they? Probably not. Thanks WWE. But who knows?
I mean, the pay-per-view is called Bad Blood, dude. If these guys don't bust each other clean in this Hell in a Cell match, what are we doing?
I'm not a dirt sheet rumor kind of guy, but apparently dirt sheet rumors are saying that Trips has asked them to stay PG. Maybe that's a TV era thing, or maybe that's to, hey, let's push the PG era and have these people forget that we can drop language so that when we get to Netflix, we're rolling.
So, not to give it too much more speculation, but I think if you've watched Raw or SmackDown in the last, I'd say 6 months, there are certain crowd chants that we all love that we've been hearing for years that all of a sudden networks have caught on to and want censored.
Right.
So if it's they're going to start cutting audio, then I think it's a situation where kind of like when The Rock was there and The Rock's cutting those promos where half of it is being not even bleeped, it's being cut. So like The Rock just sounds like he's and one more I'm going to like it's all you heard.
Right.
And so I mean I'm thinking that might be just a hey, ride it out right now.
Yeah.
Just keep the language down until we go over there and we can kind of do whatever.
Yep.
Now, do I think they're going to be coming out and dropping F-bombs and stuff? Probably not, but I think it'll loosen up a little.
Absolutely.
I think we'll get a little more TV-14 than, squeaky clean.
Yep.
Until somebody takes light tubes in WWE and then all bets are off.
And then we just bow down to our senseis.
Father Trips has not forsaken us.
I swear. But yeah, a few more things happened on Raw. We had a street fight between the Wyatt Six and Alpha Made or American Made, I think is what they're calling themselves now. It was okay. I went back and watched highlights. It was all right.
Yeah, what I saw it was fine.
Yeah.
And
I think they were just trying to do blow-offs without doing blow-offs.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't, I'd like to see where they're going to go next with the Wyatts. Maybe not street fights and stuff yet. Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, I'd love to see Braun Strowman do something with them again.
Oh, man.
Because if you do something with Braun Strowman, then you got to bring Alexa Bliss back. And just a solid worker that needs to come back to the company. But moving on.
Alexa.
Moving on from Monday Night Raw, we're going to move on to NXT. And that means I get to not say his name because he didn't appear this week. But who did appear was good old Julia making her in-ring debut against Chelsea Green, picking up a good win. I'm stoked for this.
Yeah.
I'm Really hoping Kairi Sane has been doing some good stuff, but she's gotten thrown into the women's tag division, and I'll say less on that matter. But I really hope Julia doesn't get that treatment. I really hope that we're kind of at this point, honestly, in full my own opinion, we're really pushing NXT as a third show instead of developmental. We're definitely slipping in those developmental people still, but NXT is really starting to ground break when it comes to, hey, we're not as high up as SmackDown and Raw, but we are definitely a third show for WWE.
It is kind of starting to feel like when ECW used to be the third brand. Like when it was WWECW for those couple years, like 05, 06, where like obviously like they're taking NXT a little bit more seriously, and you know they're doing stuff a little bit different. But it kind of reminds me of that, where you had like Raw and SmackDown, and then just below, instead of like for years it was just like, oh yeah, that's the show where everybody goes, and then they come up here.
Right.
And I think Black and Gold NXT kind of shook that off a little bit. And then 2.0 happened. It's like, oh, yeah, this is a developmental territory. And that's kind of where I tapped out. And I think they're building back up to like Black and Gold NXT in that regard.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, you say doing something different. I mean, we are almost to the point that Tuesday nights are NXT NA.
Yeah.
Like, so I have on our notes, TNA TakeOver is in full effect. And not necessarily TakeOver, but this partnership that we have with NXT and TNA is truly in full effect. And if you want proof, we had Alex Hammerstone and Rosemary on this last episode. Two people that I could see going to WWE. Like Rosemary came out of right field when she first debuted. I believe she actually debuted last week, but she was also on this past episode. We had the TNA Knockouts Championship up on the line in an open challenge. Now, yes, that did get cut off with... You're going to have to tell me.
Wendy Choo.
Wendy Choo. I always want to say
Sleep paralysis
Sue.
demon.
Yes. Wendy Choo and Rosemary interrupted that match halfway through. I don't believe Jordan Grace actually got the pinfall on... See, this proves my NXT intellect. Dude, she's amazing what she does. She does the springboard front flip cutter.
Oh, is it Sol
I'm
Ruka?
sorry. Yes, there you go. Thanks, bud.
I haven't watched a full episode of NXT in like a year, and I'm still just.
It's because you're better at the minor details. I'm better at the broader span of things.
This is true.
You are the analytics commentary. I am the color. But yes, no. NXT and TNA are doing this perfect partnership where we're able to have TNA go do things on their own, and even some of those people still getting indie bookings, and then turning around and coming on NXT on front of a major audience and coming in and doing this, that, and the other. If we take the Rascals, for example, technically they had an NXT tag title match that, for conspicuous reasons, had to pull out.
Whatever the hell that means.
We don't know what that means. We haven't read any dirt sheets of any kind on that end, and we're not dirt sheet reporters, so shut up.
I don't like the wording of, well, for conspicuous reasons. Like,
yeah,
it's
got to be a storyline.
Obvious reasons? Where they jumped in the parking lot? Because the NXT parking lot is the most dangerous place in America, because people get jumped in that parking lot all the time.
Absolutely.
So if you go to NXT, stay frosty.
Yeah, for real. But, I mean, for NXT wise, I mean, we had the Bloodline come in and jump the Street Profits to continue their kind of stuff they're doing on SmackDown. But yeah, I mean, major note for NXT, Julia's debut, which was solid against Chelsea Green. I still think Chelsea Green is one of the most underrated women's wrestlers that exist right now.
Hard agree.
Just because she screams like a 3-year-old bitch doesn't mean she doesn't have talent. And I feel like a lot of people are just like, oh, she's just annoying. Like, she's playing a Karen. That is her character. You're supposed to hate her, but just realize that she has talent.
She's getting the response that she wants. And she's said numerous times, like, wins, losses, all these things can be secondary, but if you made someone feel something, and that's what she's doing. She's out there to annoy the shit out of you.
Indeed. But once again, we move on to Wednesday night after NXT. So we got Wednesday night Dynamite. Buddy, we are not going to rant so hard on AEW this week, at least not right here and now. Because the only note that I have is the main event, which was the Casino Gauntlet match, the first ever tag team Casino Gauntlet match.
Boy, that was a fun time.
That was shenanigans in a box, is what that was. I remember the commentary line being said, we have 21 potential tag teams that could come out during this match. And I said to myself, if more than 12 come out, y'all have done something wrong. Now, to my good graces, we only had 9.
I think that's become one of my favorite little random gimmicks in these casino gauntlets. Like, it can be up to 21, and you know it's never going to be, but one time it is going to be. I think they're trying to keep, like, if they announce a certain number, it's very obvious that they've booked a certain number.
Right.
If they tell you it could be 21 and the match ends at 8 or 12 or so, because, like, there's still that, like, could it be? They want you to feel like these gauntlet matches could end at any time because they could.
Right.
And so I do just love the, like, if we as many as 21 tag teams. Like, do y'all have 21 tag teams?
I started to think about it. I'm like, they have at least 10 more. So, I mean, at that point, we're at 19. And what did it even better was 2 of the tag teams that came in ended up fighting backstage. So, like, they met him at the ramp, fought backstage. So now you only have 7 teams in the ring.
Right.
Because the last ones was Grizzly Young Veterans, and they fought FTR to the back. So, winner of that match was going to get a shot at the Young Bucks at Grand Slam, which is in 2 weeks. And we have Kyle Fletcher, most underrated professional wrestler in the world right now, and Will Ospreay, who has never lost a casino battle or a casino gauntlet match. Right now, Will Ospreay is 3-0 in any casino gauntlet match he has been in. So that's fun.
We can call him Billy Gauntlet at this point, right?
Billy Vegas Casino.
Billy Casino.
Billy Casino. I don't know. Well, I don't have to figure that out. That's not marketing for me.
So the setup to this tag team, I have to say, I think this is where I'm going to cash in my 1 per episode. So just be forewarned. The promo that set up Ospreay and Fletcher teaming together, Kyle Fletcher says the words, "I can't think of anyone else I would rather be in there with." Which, folks, here's my 1 per episode. Where the fuck is Mark Davis? Dunkzilla, can you hear me? Are you still alive? Are you still out there? Where the hell are you? How bad was that hand injury?
I have no idea, dude.
I mean, Aussie Open. I haven't forgotten. Now,
I almost want I'm almost thinking Tony or whoever is writing these things is saying, like, hey, I need the fans to forget. Because the way they tell that promos and story and this, that, and the other, it's almost like they're forgetting about him.
And it sucks because they were, like, the dynamic they had was so good. Because Fletcher is still a bigger dude, but, like, Davis looks like this big muscled up. So, like, you had the quick striker, you had the beast. They had a good thing going. And I can only hope that he's cleared and they're waiting for the right time. But, I mean, who knows?
We've got a show in Australia in February. That's a long time to be waiting.
I know, man. I don't... Tony, what have you done with Mark? Bring him back.
My hope is he's getting absolutely shredded.
Oh yeah, because he's silent on socials. He has disappeared off the face of the earth, and I hope when he comes back, he just is like just bulked out.
Even Fletcher is put on weight and muscle, and so that's my hope is that like he recovered from this hand injury in like 3 months, and Tony's just like, just wait it out, get absolutely yoked, and just wait it out. And just, if that's what it is, then so be it. Because I would love for it to be a Australia, Fletcher, Takeshita in a tag match or something. And, I mean, shoot. Part of me wonders if they're telling the story of forgetting about Davis so that Davis and Fletcher can do something. Because if that's the case, sign me up.
I mean,
I hate to see a tag team broken up, but
especially that one. I mean, I think there's not a point in their career where I've ever thought like, man, they might be breaking up. Like that just never seemed like a possibility.
Yeah. I mean, with how much they're pushing Kyle as a singles guy right now, I don't see him going back to the tag scene unless that whole singles run takes a curveball. So we'll see. But
I mean, we'll see.
But that Casino Gauntlet sets up Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher versus the Young Bucks for Grand Slam in 2 weeks. This show also had 2 more setups for matches at Grand Slam. We now have Darby Allin versus Jon Moxley for a world title shot. Darby Allin won a title shot at Wembley, right?
No, he lost the TNT, like the casket match at Wembley. I forget when he won that opportunity.
It must have been right before Wembley for a Dynamite or something. Maybe it was a Casino
or maybe right after, or not long after.
I forget how he won it, but he has a title opportunity guaranteed. It was supposed to happen at Grand Slam.
Yes.
And John comes out and is basically like, I've always respected you, but I need that shot because you're not ready for this title. So now we're having John versus Darby at Grand Slam, and our assumption is, just a super light put it on the board, is...
Folks, look back at the board behind me here. I don't know if I said it on this podcast, but I definitely said it to you before Wembley. I said Darby Allin wins the AEW championship and retires Danielson because it just feels like that's where we're headed. And the second that belt came off of Swerve, I was like, that's it. Like, what else could we do here? Like, right. It's it. Wrestle Dreams in Tacoma. Darby is from the area. Danielson's from the area. Darby's one of the big faces of the company. He needs that torch pass. This is the moment. Board. It's there, and I'm feeling real good about it.
It's there. It has to be. It has to be on the board. It has to be ready to go. But because Darby will not be challenging the so far not medically cleared and not seen Bryan Danielson, someone else has to step up. And I love getting a text message in the middle of the week that Dylan Gilbert is crying.
Now I can confirm this 100%. And maybe it was the Hurricane barley wines. But when Nigel McGuinness started calling out Bryan Danielson, that single tear comes down, and then the graphic comes up, and I was like, this is a decade plus. The single tier turned to a fair feud. I was like, Tony Khan, you son of a bitch.
Nigel McGuinness versus Bryan Danielson, 2 weeks, Grand Slam. We might have to figure out a way to watch that live together.
Oh, 100%. That's
because I don't think we could text each other back and forth with how big that night's going to be.
No. I mean, especially Danielson and McGuinness put on war after war after war in Ring of Honor. And with Nigel walking away as long as he has and him coming back now, I think it's fitting that he comes back in time to be a part of Danielson's story on the way out, the way Danielson was a part of his story on the way out. Yeah. I think it's perfect. It's one of those, like, it's beautiful in wrestling when you get those full circle moments, because you don't get them all that often. No.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. We'll see how things shape out. But that's Wednesday Night Dynamite. Moving on to the brand new SmackDown on the USA Network. Boy. Not a lot happened on this one either.
Can I be one of those fans that complains on the internet just for a second here?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't like the new logo. Clarify. I like the SmackDown logo, but when it's just that S thing that they keep trying to hammer over, it's like, we get it. It's an S, and it also has the D, but it just, like, it by itself doesn't look great.
Yeah,
with SmackDown across it. It's like, oh, that looks awesome. And then
I agree.
every transitional logo is just that SD thing. I'm like, I don't like this.
I agree. But yes, we have a new season. I'm going to call it season of SmackDown, starting on the USA Network. Dude, if you're going to keep pushing SmackDown, have it on the USA Network. Have it both shows on the same channel. Thank you, WWE, for making that agreement. Took you long enough, because sometimes cable companies tell you this one or this one, and for the longest time, Alex Braddock only had this one. So thanks, cable companies and WWE for signing on to the same freaking channel.
They're on the same channel for checks notes like 3 months.
Yeah, but it's okay. I have Netflix subscriptions. I don't
But
watch cable
do
TV
you have
unless
the
it's for wrestling.
CW? Because that's where
That'd be
NXT's
fun.
going, baby. The CW network.
They are on the CW right now.
Yeah, they've
I
moved
thought
over.
this past week was CW.
Yep.
And
We've got they're shifting shows left, right, and center.
it happens. Welcome to business. But yes, SmackDown. They go, oh, welcome to the new SmackDown. We've been dealing with this for 25 years or something. I don't remember.
I think it was like the 25th anniversary or something like that.
Because I think it kicked off in '99.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, yeah.
Time flies.
I am as old as SmackDown. But yeah, no, yeah. See, yeah. I am young, and I'm sorry for that. But no, we open up with the cage match that we talked about last week: Solo Sikoa and Cody Rhodes for the WWE. I don't think they use the word undisputed anymore. I think it's the WWE Universe. No, it's just the WWE
No, it's
Championship.
just the
now.
WWE Championship.
And they do use the undisputed. They use the undisputed WWE Championship,
which is
because they don't use the Universal tag anymore.
I mean, there's a WWE Heavyweight Championship, so
Technically, it's the World Heavyweight Championship. It's not a WWE
okay.
Championship.
But
Yeah,
you have a top
never-
title on both shows. You can dispute which person is the true top champion.
Correct. That's what I have said from the beginning. But no, that can't be a thing. But to both of our surprise, we have a clean win for Cody.
Let me tell you,
Cody picks up a clean win to, in my hopes, end the Sokolo story, and it sure as hell did not.
we were, when I tell you, this close. Cody got the pin, and then the bloodline jumps in the cage, and I'm like, damn it, y'all couldn't have gone a minute early? Come on. 30 seconds earlier?
Not at all. And so we had good old Fatu hit a big old moonsault, Tongaloa being pure Tongaloa. But Fatu climbs to the top of the cage in what we're expecting to be the doomiest of splashes. And then on the Titantron, OTC pops up. And good old Roman Reigns, which we could have hedged our bets on that one. First show on the USA Network? Come on.
Yeah.
Roman Reigns comes in, and something that I will never understand about wrestling psychology, the whole point of a cage is to keep people in and keep the out people out. And so why do we keep unlocking the door? Roman Reigns just walked in the door.
Roman didn't
climb.
He didn't have to work for it.
Just
Well, I think and look, since we're having this, we're talk about like the logic of wrestling being what it is. The match is over at this point, so technically the referee
I
has
guess.
have no I guess I have to keep Roman out. I mean, shit, if Michael White can stroll into 225 2 times in a row, anything is possible in wrestling. There's your cheap plug for 225.
I was going to say something about Brady and Landry, but I'm too in love with him to talk about how he screwed me over.
We believe in Brett Landry.
Do it, Brett.
Do it.
Do it.
Do it.
Be the cheap gimmick infringement.
Look, man.
Anyway.
All wrestling is gimmick infringement. Have fun.
But yes, so the whole shenanigans happen. We do the frickin' we all hit our finishers. Great. Shout out to Tongaloa, who actually hit a good spear. Or not hit a good spear, took a good spear.
Yeah, no.
Uh,
If
yeah.
he if he has to deliver the move, there's about a 50-50 chance at best of it going right.
So there's about a
So if he's
33% chance that it'll go correctly and 133% chance that it'll go horribly.
if he's taking it, it's at 8 1/3% chance.
Thanks,
Numbers don't
Steiner.
lie.
Thanks, Steiner. Anyway, but yes, no. So we got that whole cage shenanigans that happened. We have a few more matches that happen that are kind of, I wouldn't call lackluster. They're wrestling matches. They're fun. But then at the end of the night, we have a contract signing or something. I don't know what
Allegedly.
led up to this. I know Roman came. English, Blake. English.
Alex Braddock versus the English language, round 2.
Ugh. Yes, it's been a long weekend.
Yes, it has.
We had Roman Reigns come out and cut a promo, and he finally says something about his shirt, where it is not the original tribal chief like we put up on the board. He is the only tribal chief, which yeah, you put some in your A basket, you put some in your B basket. You know,
That was the textbook little column A, little column B. I was like, oh yeah, the original tribal chief, the only tribal chief. I never crossed my mind at all, but when he said it, I was just like, I sat back and I was like, well, damn it, that's perfect. Like,
yeah. It was like original clarifies that he is the tribal chief, and then only goes, no, listen, I've been here the whole time.
we're never acknowledging the solo reign. I'm like,
Right.
damn it, that was perfect. And them being
Absolutely.
so close to the vest to this point, again, perfect.
But yes, like I said, then there ends up being a contract pulled out. I missed that whole bit.
So to start that segment off, Roman was telling Cody, I'm not signing your contract for this tag match. I don't need help facing Solo and Jacob. I don't need you.
So the tag match was already talked
It was
about.
already discussed. I missed the point in the episode where it was brought up. I think it followed, I'm assuming, in a segment between, because I missed a gap between the cage match and kind of back into the show.
Yeah.
But they are going for this tag match, and Roman comes out for that segment. Like, I don't need you. I don't need help. I don't need Cody Rhodes. Well, then they get jumped. And this is a little thing that I'm going to point out. Cody, as Solo and Jacob Fatu hit the ring, Cody is unfazed and Roman is on the ground taking punches. And I'm like, what? These guys are they're both unstoppable monsters. Why is Roman down? And as that exits my mouth, Roman's up, boom. And it was very obvious they're trying to do the, like, here's Cody's spot where he looks huge, here's Roman's spot where he looks huge, and they don't want to cross him over. But having Roman immediately dropped to the ground and taking the punches, I was like, these are your unstoppable monsters. Like, what?
Was it against Fatu?
I think it might have been. I don't remember
If
exactly.
If it was against Fatu, it makes sense because Samoan Werewolf.
Look,
we have said from the get go, Fatu is probably the only person that could take out Roman.
I agree.
And here we are. But yes, so at the end of the segment, we have a reluctant Reigns looking over at Cody and kind of rolling his eyes as he picks up the contract and signs it. And then a very loud pop for Cody to reach out his hand and take the contract from Roman, which I was like, it would have been different. I thought it was a handshake. So like I was like, oh, look, a pop for Roman to reach out his hand and shake his hand. And then he gets handed the contract and Cody signs it super quick, and that's how we end SmackDown. I'm like, okay, that's fine.
I guess the pop being like this match is going to happen, which, folks, 99.9% of the time, if they tell you this could happen, we just got to sign the contract first, it's going to happen. I love being told a story. I love being told a story, but if there's the whole contract signing segment, almost always the match is going to happen.
Absolutely.
It's one of those things. We all acknowledge that there's some elements of wrestling that don't make a hell of a lot of sense, but they make for fun television. I think this is one of those.
Absolutely. No, very much so. And I think it could be a fun match. Definitely not what I had in store for the Bad Blood pay per view. I definitely thought we were gonna go with a solo Cody match. Definitely with it being in his hometown, but I also Roman's from Florida. If I had to guess, both Fatu and Sokoa are from Florida as well. So it's not really like
Probably.
it's not like we're pandering to a
No,
Georgia
they're
opponent.
pandering for Cody, but
Right. So we'll see what happens.
I,
Dude,
I
I don't know what's gonna happen in this match. I kind of had like okay, we're gonna do Cody Sokoa, Cody Fatu at Bad Blood. Like that'll be perfect thing for Roman to kind of come in and finally kick off the big Bloodline feud that we're expecting, the old versus new Bloodline. Uh, and maybe we are trying to kick that off because civil rights leader Cody Rhodes. But who knows?
I think they have to do something where Roman and Cody cross paths, because if Roman just comes back and goes straight after Bloodline, it wouldn't make sense to just have Cody all of a sudden not be involved, and it wouldn't make sense that Roman would come back after losing that belt to Cody, ending like the longest reign in recent memory, and have him not at least have some hatred towards Cody still, even though he's seems like he's face now. You have to kind of like tie up these ends, and I I'm gonna say this. I've too many things in this Bloodline story have gone way longer than they probably should have, but they've made for huge pops as a result. So maybe I don't know what the hell I'm talking about,
Yeah.
but I think this is one of those times where normally I say let's pick it up a little bit. Don't have this be the end of anything. I
Yeah.
kind of want to see this tag end in some sort of shenanigans, end in some sort of, continue this on a little bit. We've got Survivor Series War Games coming up on November 30th.
Yep.
And then after that, we start moving towards that road to WrestleMania. So, I mean, we have a lot of time for Roman to kind of like solidify whatever they're going to do. Don't speed run this one yet.
No, I the only thing I could see is we take a step back from Cody.
Yes.
After this tag match, continue the bloodline, but take a step back from Cody. Have Cody go on to do whatever he needs to do. Because I think with Survivor Series War Games coming out in November, right after Bad Blood, we are expecting something to go down. Now, fantasy booking here, we're probably going to get Cody, Roman, maybe Jay, and Jimmy if he's back.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that 4 versus the Bloodline in War Games, because that's right now seems the most sensible
Right.
to book. But of course, I'm not a writer. I'm not a booker. I'm not thinking that far ahead. I'm not thinking of weekly shows and this, that, and the other.
Right.
But as of this moment, that's kind of what I'm thinking War Games is going to be.
I think that feels like the safe bet is OG Bloodline versus Bloodline 2.0. I think that seems like the safest bet. But I would also kind of, at some point, like to see a War Games match that doesn't involve the Bloodline again. Obviously, I know it's one of the biggest storylines you have going. Totally fine, but
Well, I was thinking about it the other day. Dude, at this point, I wouldn't mind a classic Survivor Series match. Like, just a good old classic 5v5, 6v6, whatever it was.
yeah, I think it was 5v5, like a
Yeah,
10-man tag.
I wouldn't mind it. Even if you take up the, like, just throw in a classic 6-man tag or, like, 5v5 tag and then bring down the cage and have War Games on that same show. Like, there's nothing hurting anybody for having these big tag matches and War Games to have your big storyline blow-offs.
Yeah.
Like, just, it just,
'Cause
it
we
just
could
adds a little
still-
something to keep classic Survivor Series in.
Well, we could still do the old Raw versus SmackDown, like brand split style. Like, hey, we're gonna have the 5v5, and then in the main the Bloodline warfare and War Games. And I don't think anybody would be mad at all at those
Yeah.
two matches being on the same card if they're both good. You know,
Oh
like
yeah.
if because I think we had a couple of those Survivor Series matches that were just kind of like random slapped together, and it just didn't feel special. And I think that was kind of why War Games was so appealing. And War Games is just fun. Like it's one of
Yeah.
my favorite match stips that they've done in a while. But you know, maybe we could have both.
Who knows, man? I mean, I will say we did not have Bloodline in the last year's War Games because it was Judgment Day.
That's right.
That was the night CM Punk returned, which we are looking at a year worth of CM Punk in WWE, and he's been out for 7 months, so he hasn't done jack squat with it.
Yeah, we have had a year of CM Punk, and that is equated to what, 4 matches?
Correct. Good times. Anyway, moving on from that, we won't talk about CM Punk and our feelings about CM Punk. But moving on, Friday Night Rampage. We're just pushing Takeshita. I'm about it.
Make it Friday Night Takeshita, man. Just let him wrestle 60 minutes every Friday night, and I'll watch.
We even had a promo on Wednesday night, Dynamite, between him and Okada was basically like, "Look, you're going to become a champion. You just ain't going to become Continental Champion." And he walks away, and then come back and goes, "Bitch," and then turns around and walks away again. Which I'm loving, bitch Okada. It's great.
Bitch Okada is one of the best things going. I've seen a lot of people complain like, "Oh, Okada's just being a silly character." It's like, no, Okada's stretching the legs that he has always had. He can do a kind of comedic character, and I'm loving it, man. Like he's translating to American TV perfectly.
Yeah. But and then that's pretty much all we had on Rampage. We make the comment all the time that AEW Rampage is really just the dark matches house show for AEW, trying to get some talent in, get them pushed, because they're not running live shows other than their TV shows. So Rampage is Rampage, but Collision I actually watched this week because I figured out that I could record Collision. So after a heck of a show at Pro Wrestling 225 in Louisiana last night, I got home and woke up this morning and decided to watch Collision because the mainstay of the show, we had no flips, just fists versus Grit Your Teeth. We had FTR versus Grizzled Young Veterans. And I have on my notes, is it a tease or is it a letdown? Because the finish of this match, I will say, tag team wrestling at its finest. The match itself, solid when it came into tag team psychology. For the first time in a long time, I saw a pull the referee away so he doesn't see the babyface tag spot in AEW. I haven't seen that in ages in AEW, and I finally saw it last night. So I was stoked. I was thinking, okay, they're going to go another 15, 20 minutes. And then Dax puts FTR bald. I'm sorry that we keep referencing him as that. Dax puts Drake in a sharpshooter. I know English. I swear I know English.
Take a shot.
Dax puts Drake in a sharpshooter. And Cash takes Gibson out to the outside and they're fighting. Drake ends up tapping, in my opinion, quite randomly to Dax in the sharpshooter. And then after the bell rings, ref kind of gets Dax put apart. Gibson comes running in as if he's trying to break up the submission and just beats the tar out of Dax, setting up something between the two of them and what I might think is fanfare. Some good old school 80s music starts hitting as the Outrunners come running out to make the save with FTR, beating down Grizzled Young Veterans, scaring them off. And then we do the two tag teams have their backs turned, and then they turn around and they're like, are we fighting? No, we're not fighting. And they do the bicep hand grasp, kind of handshake that they do. But yes, I love the Outrunners, but we can talk on them in a minute. I will say, Dylan, what do you think? Is it a tease for things to come between those two tag teams, or do you think it was a bit of a letdown and we're not going to play it out anymore?
I think it's definitely a tease of what is to come. FTR's on that kind of run right now. I don't think they needed to lose necessarily, and I don't think that grizzled young vets necessarily needed to lose in like any sort of convincing fashion. So having them like take the tap and then go right back on the offensive and start attacking FTR makes sense. Get the Outrunners pop right now because the Outrunners are freaking over.
They're hot, dude.
But I don't think either team walks away from this worse for that. Like I think GYV showing that like even in a loss, they're not just gonna take a loss. They're gonna lose and keep swinging.
Yeah.
I'm totally okay with it. And
No, I think it was good. And then let's talk Outrunners. A tag team that when I saw them 3 months ago, I was like, oh look, enhancement talent, because that's what they were being used for.
So the Major Pod, Cardona picked them as like one of the monthly cards for like a certain Patreon tier. They do like cards for the podcast Patreon members. Mm-hmm. And he did Outrunners like 6 months ago, and everybody collectively was like, who? What the hell is that? Who are these guys? And Cardona's like, they're the greatest. Oh my God. And those cards, like, you couldn't freaking give away for a little bit, and now all of a sudden, like, everybody's clamoring for anything Outrunners. It's like, Cardona continues to prove genius for this freaking business. He saw these guys, like, far enough out. It's like, these guys are going to be something. And got laughed at, and he's the one laughing now, dude. The Outrunners are freaking over.
Yeah,
and
just super quick,
you know,
if you don't know who the Outrunners are, think '80s style WCW WWE. When it comes to I'm big and buff and I'm going to continue showing my muscles, they are an old school '80s tag team nowadays, and it's freaking awesome.
They are also the youngest men alive. If you take a look at them, you wouldn't think that they're as young as they are. But I'm surprised no one has called a state athletic commission and had them taken off a card, Nick Wayne and GCW style. They're so young they can't have the gym memberships, but they can work out there anyway.
They are so young that Turbo's starting to push the Hulk Hogan bald spot mullet, but he rocks it, and I love it. So, yes, no. Outrunners, awesome. I'm stoked to see that they're actually getting collision time.
Yeah.
Which is great. But we will definitely be keeping an eye on them because I did not realize how hot they were until the Casino Battle Royal on Wednesday. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, these guys are kind of hot with the fans. Great. Awesome. And then that turned into, oh, they're here on Saturday. Oh, they might be getting TV time now. Awesome. Like, let's keep it going. Let's prove to people why these guys should be hot.
Yeah.
But Dylan, that is the week.
That is the week.
If you had any takeaways, what are your takeaways?
Man, I feel like I say this every week, but we truly are in an amazing time to be a fan of professional wrestling. I mean, with Nigel coming back, we're getting that CM Punk Drew Hell in a Cell. There's stuff happening on both, in both companies that is so good. And like this, even this being kind of a quote unquote down week, we still went 40 something minutes about just what is going on right now. Look, the whole tribalism thing is lame. Watch both products. You'll find stuff on both you love. You'll find stuff on both you don't care for, and that's okay. Just enjoy wrestling, man. Enjoy wrestling.
And if I can, go watch other indies. New Japan Pro, Major League Wrestling, TNA, Total Nonstop Action, GCW, Game Changer Wrestling. Depending on what you love about the two TV shows or just the one TV show, there is dozens of places out there that continue to tell that same kind of thing. If you love the stories, go look at an indie. If you love professional fighting, like almost MMA style fights, go look at New Japan. If you love violence, go check out Game Changer, because dear Lord, they can get up to some shenanigans.
Oh, yes, they can.
But yes, Dylan, thank you so much, dude. Where can they find you?
So I am Dylan_Gilbert37 on the Instagram, Dylan Gilbert on Facebook. I am 1/2/1/3 of Action Figure Weekly. And yeah, other than that, you can find me running around like a chicken with my head cut off before 225 shows start, and just living the production life. Watch 225 Unleashed. It's a pretty damn good show.
Yeah, shameless plug, because I'm
Shameless
definitely
plug.
not on there like every other week. But yes, no, and then you can find me at the Alex Braddock or just Alex Braddock on social medias. Make sure to check out our YouTube or our Spotify. Follow the Victory Roll Facebook page. Share the Facebook page or the URLs or anything that we post, whether it's on the Alex Braddock page, Dylan's Facebook page, or it's Victory Roll itself. Share that, because we don't pay for advertising, and any reach that y'all can help us get to have other people hear us would be amazing. We love doing what we do. We are just two goofy guys that have talked wrestling our entire lives, and we just said, screw it, we're going to press and record and doing it. So any way that you can help us, that would be awesome. We have more content coming, whether it is funny shenanigan things like, I think we might be working on a trivia episode.
There might be a call out promo finishing an episode here soon.
Oh boy. Okay, that's fine.
There's
We'll
your
figure that
teaser.
out. But to see more content like that, whether it's watch alongs, it is trivia, it is hot take hangouts, press the subscribe button on the YouTubes. I said it earlier in the episode, but I will say it here. Press the subscribe button on YouTube. Check out our YouTube page. For hot take hangouts, most of the time we'll probably post those on Spotify. So if you're on Spotify, hit the follow button, hit the subscribe button, do this, that. But I end the episode the same way that I started. So whether it is a good morning, a good afternoon, a good evening, or a good night, whatever time of day you have been watching, thank you for watching. And this has been the Victory Roll Wrestling Podcast.